Whole lot of fun this week. Tell me if we've got issues with the stream lagging like we did a half hour ago. The internet should be fine. I don't know what the hell's going on, but you can also enjoy the Whataburger and the medical center behind you. But these are two young quarterbacks in Bo Nix and C.J. Stroud who've done some really good things as of late. But regardless of whatever smack talk people are telling you on social media, people in Denver are just as nervous about people in Houston about just what their offense is. And can it be consistent? Can it be sustainable? The Broncos have scored 77 points in the last 5 quarters. It's absurd, ridiculous. But they did it versus two lesser football teams. C.J. Stroud has had 3 awesome games out of 4, but the one really good defense that they played shut down the offense completely. So these are 2 good defenses out there, really, really, really good defenses in the Broncos and the Texans, and these quarterbacks will both be facing them. We all know by now, yes, Patrick Surtain is not going to be playing for the Broncos. It looks like Dalton Schultz is going to play for the Texans and Woody Marks based on practice today. So we'll get into all of that. Just as a reminder, and because Vance Joseph, the defensive coordinator for the Broncos, is going to talk about facing a young quarterback and blitzing him, this is D'Amico talking about CJ's development. And I put almost all of the blitzes that CJ saw in the game last week, and just as a reminder of how well CJ handled the blitz last week.
Like CJ has truly grown just as we've went throughout the season of just really commanding the offense, like being very disciplined with, the calls in the huddle, being disciplined with his reads and where he's supposed to go with the football. As the season has progressed, I feel like he's done a great job of taking what's given to him. If one is open, he's taking one. He's making great decisions. Also, when it's not there, taking the opportunity to check the ball down to our backs. Like, it was a great play that he made last week to check the ball down to Woody, and Woody runs for 50 yards. That's just about a quarterback remaining disciplined, doing what he has to do, and making great decisions to make sure as an offense we're pressing forward.
There were a few things about that play that really encouraged me. The one at the end there, Woody Marks, and we'll revisit that in a minute, or a little bit later. First, D'Amico's talking about the reads, and if the first read's open, take it. Don't overthink it. I think that Woody Marks play was a good example of that, where CJ could have hung around and tried to see if because Jalen Noel was coming clear, but you don't think it. Don't think about what might have been. Just take the easy money, and sometimes those spring into a 50-yarder. Or sometimes if it's 2nd and 10 and you hit the first read, it might only get you to 2nd and 5, but 2nd and 5 is so much better than 3rd and 10, and it gives you that chance, especially now that the Texans are going for it and on 4th and short and running QB sneaks blessedly. That part of it's really good, but I don't want to fall into the trap of putting it all on CJ that he wasn't hitting his first reads quickly, or that he wasn't checking down as quickly earlier in the season, because I think at least part of it was that he wasn't 100% comfortable with the younger receivers, which makes sense. And a lot of the spacing issues we saw early on, times where you remember, go all the way back to the Rams game, and there was one play where I thought the easy read was to Jalen Noel over the middle versus a zone coverage, and CJ opted to run for a first down instead. But I think there were a lot of scenarios like that where Jalen Noel or Jaden Higgins just weren't quite right. Even if they maybe were running the right route, weren't running it as crisp enough or with the right timing, or sometimes not running the right route at all. So CJ's a lot more comfortable with those guys now. They're performing better, and he's got time in system. As you remember, Bucky Brooks I had on, that was on the Believe podcast, talked about in this, doing anything involving Josh McDaniels, it takes some time in the system to get super comfortable with all of it. So I think the Patriots elements of this offense are very much something that CJ had to get comfortable with. Here's Vance Joseph, former Houston Texans assistant coach, talking about facing young quarterbacks like CJ Stroud.
Well, I think with some young quarterbacks, the misomen is, you blitz young quarterbacks and you can harass them, but sometimes you can clean it up for them. If you're just bringing 5 and it's single high and it's press, or it's soft off coverage, he just takes his best matchup. I'm from the school of, when you have a young quarterback who's getting rid of the ball quickly, that's a good thing for a young quarterback. It's my job to make him hold it and to look through layers of coverage and to make him, hit his progression. With our pass rush, that's always a good thing, because we can rush 4 and get home, but to have enough looks to make him hold it is key. He is playing well, and he's played well, and he's super talented. Even with the pressure last week that San Fran was bringing, I mean, he was looking at a gun barrel. He made 4 or 5 throws that were big-time throws. The receiving core is underrated.
Underrated. I'll finish it for him. I got tired of listening to his deep voice. I'm jealous, damn it. He's an insurance spokesperson if he wants to be. The pass protection part of it is a big one. And as Vance Joseph was saying, if they rush 4, they don't. The Broncos defense plays a lot of man. They rush 5 a lot. I hesitate to call some of them even blitzes because they've got a 5-man front in their 3-4, and I'll illustrate this in a little bit. So sometimes it's just a matter of, okay, the 5 guys on the line are rushing, but it doesn't look like an exotic blitz or anything, but they're going to play man behind that. So without Patrick Surtain in there, the Broncos have struggled in the past, at least, when they're missing even one of their starting cornerbacks, because last year Riley Moss went out for 3 games, and the Broncos defense took a huge step backwards. They let up 497 yards passing to Jameis Winston. And in a competitive game, it wasn't garbage time. They let up, in the course of those 3 games, they let up 30-plus points twice because they had to play a lot more zone. So the 4-man pass rush for the Broncos is going to be huge. And then what Vance Joseph was talking about in making CJ a little bit uncomfortable with that first read, that's something that the Seahawks are really good at doing. It's something that I think the Broncos, even if they're not in their preferred coverages, are still going to be able to do that. So it's not going to necessarily be as automatic of a release for CJ all the time. And that's where the fun part of this battle comes in. Them losing Patrick Surtain is a big deal. I made the comparison this morning of the Ravens not having Ray Lewis, which that's an extreme version of it, but Surtain really enables them to do a lot of the things that they do when they're hyper aggressive. So a lot of it comes down to the offensive line, right? Next one I have. Okay. The defensive line for the Broncos, all very good, but Nick Bonito is especially scary because he lines up on the right side of the defensive line almost all the time. He's going to be facing Ariante Ursary. Just to give you a little glimpse of it, here's D'Amico. D'Amico asks about the defense, and, remember like when he talked about the Rams, he would talk about every single one of those guys. D'Amico's fixated on Nick Bonito.
The Broncos rush group is a really good group. All 5 guys they have are really good. On the edges, I would say Benito is a really good speed rusher. So, there's not many guys like that in the league who has the explosiveness and the first step quickness that he has, which has allowed him, to get a few sacks. So it's going to take a ton of effort, ton of work to get it done. But we just have to play our technique. Don't overthink it. Just play our technique, really strain to get them blocked up front, knowing that they're a really solid group and really solid in the inside as well. They'll play a 5 down front. It's just everybody across the board is going to have to win their one-on-one matchup.
That's an old Wade Phillips. Remember Vance Joseph coached for Wade Phillips, and that's something Wade Phillips would do to get J.J. Watt one-on-one. Is, all right, we're going to rush 5 guys. You got 5 offensive linemen. We're going to figure out a way to get our best guys some one-on-ones. And as Texans fans, something or other points out, CJ does not do well versus aggressive defenses. This has been the story all season long. It's that when the Texans face a good pass rush, the offense doesn't do well. When they don't face a good pass rush, they are incredible. And that's what's so interesting about this week for 2 reasons. One is I don't know if the Broncos are going to be as good of a pass rush because they're not going to be able to play as many aggressive man coverages and defenses. But 2, it's the Texans have added the dynamic of having Blake Fisher out there a lot more as a 6th offensive lineman. He played by far the most snaps he's played at tight end last week, and about a third of the offensive plays, Blake Fisher was out there. Here's D'Amico on that dynamic, and then I'll show you a couple examples.
We've used Blake a lot as our jumbo tight end, just trying to get a bigger body there on the edge of the line of scrimmage, whether we're running the ball or throwing the ball. I feel like he can do a great job of blocking some of these elite edge players. So that's why we use that a lot, and I think he's done a good job of it. He's gotten better, and we're kind of spicing up the variety of things that we do within that package.
Oh, we haven't really seen any wrinkles off of it yet. We haven't seen a throwback to Blake Fisher or a play in the red zone or anything like that. It'd be fun if they start building off of that. And I don't. Nick Caley joked about Blake Fisher being on the jugs machine, but if we go back to that Woody Marks reception. Even have to be that Blake Fisher is next to Ariante Ursary because of the protections you can call and because you've got more heft in the run game that they have to take the run threat more seriously. I'd rather do everything I can to make up for any deficiencies in pass protection. And okay, maybe CJ's only got 4 viable receiving options on a play, but he's got time to get to them versus having no time and 5 guys out on routes, but he doesn't have any time to look at it. So I like this development. I think as the game goes on, they'll figure out how much they want to lean into it. But it's a positive this week versus this Broncos defense for sure. If we get to the Broncos offense, you guys can get a kind of a feel for Bo Nix and what they do. Here's D'Amico on the Broncos offense.
The main thing with Denver's offense is going to start with containing their run game. That's where they hang their hat on the run game. So we have to do a great job of setting edges, tackling well. They have 2 really good backs. And then with Bo Nix, what he does a really good job of, and the coaches have put him in a really good position to get on the edge. He's using his athleticism a lot to get on the edge on a lot of their keeper plays. If it's not there, he doesn't like it. He has the athletic ability to escape the pocket up the middle through the A and B gaps. So we have to be very sound in how we're rushing him, especially our defensive tackles. We have to rush with awareness because he's a very athletic kid who's made a few explosive plays when he's able to not just escape the pocket running, but he's also made some nice throws as well, escaping the pocket. So it's going to take everybody to continue to be locked in and disciplined in our coverage, disciplined in our rush lanes, because he can go anywhere.
And I'll tell you, we talked to Philip Lindsay, who does sports radio in Denver now. I had a really good conversation with him. He's a whole separate podcast. He talked about the 2021 season. Wow. But the thing about Bo Nix is that Sean Payton is managing him very much like a young quarterback, and it's a whole lot of short passes, screens, all of these things with some deep shots at times, but he hasn't necessarily been all that accurate in connecting on the deep shots. That's some of the inconsistency of the offense. It is their rushing attack, although the sense I get from people in Denver is also they're a little bit frustrated with the rushing attack because it comes in fits and starts. It sounds a little bit like Joe Mixon last year. But J.K. Dobbins is the 3rd leading rusher in the NFL right now. So it's a young quarterback that has a better rushing attack than the Texans have had, certainly, and a good defense on the other side of them. And they've shown that they're very capable of scoring points in droves. With Bo Nix, you know, you talk about the Texans pass rush versus Bo Nix. He's not gotten sacked much at all. They're amongst the top 3, maybe the least sacked team in the NFL. And part of that is because they've got a good, solid offensive line. Part of it's because Bo Nix can scramble, gets rid of the ball quickly, all of those things. But I'm not as concerned about getting him on the ground. I want to just force him into bad decisions, 3 and outs, all of those things. And I think in that environment at NRG, right over there, you guys see NRG? You can see the ring light. There it is. In the middle of the ring light. that I think that is the advantage. It's one of the big reasons the Texans are favored in this game, aside from the Surtain injury. So this is D'Amico on the Payton offense, because I thought about trying to, how do I summarize the Broncos offense, and I couldn't figure it out, and I felt better after I heard D'Amico explain why.
The most difficult thing about Sean Payton's offense is it's a high volume of offense. So you're going to see a ton of different plays, a lot of variety. He does a great job of, whether it's using a quarterback in some zone read type plays, getting in a wildcat, using his receivers on jet sweep. It's a ton of variety. So you really have to trust your rules. You have to trust your techniques, things you've worked from OTAs and training camp. He's going to test all of your rules. So you have to have elite eye discipline, and you have to be exactly where you're supposed to be. It's really a rules, be where you're supposed to be, a disciplined matchup, because he's going to test every single thing that we've had, any issue plays that have come up. He does a great job of attacking it to see if you cleaned up those issues. So we'll get a heavy dose of a lot of different plays.
And whatever the audio issues are, it's genuinely not my fault this time. I tried to do this live stream earlier, and it was lagging badly. So something going on. I'm almost positive it's not my fault this time. So when he's talked about, hey, any issues we've shown, that's what they're going to test. And J.K. Dobbins running between the tackles. I showed that Tampa game, a play from that Tampa game where the Texans, that was their worst run defense of the year, really. J.K. Dobbins does a really good job of almost like Le'Veon Bell, assessing what's in front of him and then hitting it. And he's got build-up speed, but, man, he's plenty fast enough. So J.K. Dobbins is, I think, probably D'Amico's biggest concern. This is going to be one of those games where D'Amico goes into it like the Jaguars or like the Ravens game or any of those ones, the Rams game as well, which it bit him on that one because who knew? Matt Stafford was completely healthy in that game. Back didn't bother him a damn bit, but I think they're going to be focused on that. And then as far as the Texans pass rush, they've done a good job of contained pass rush. I think it's one of the reasons that even though the pass rush has been good, they don't have as many sacks as you would expect. They're 17th in the league in sacks right now, but they're getting lots of interceptions. They're getting off the field on 3rd and long, and they've got a good disciplined rush where the defensive tackles are staying in their lane. And if you look at Bo Nix, his scrambles for yardage, he doesn't have many like huge breakaways, but he'll scramble for a first down. He'll scramble for positive yardage, but it's not necessarily the threat as a lot of other mobile quarterbacks. And I think that's ultimately, again, what makes the difference in this game. Let's see, Toach. High volume, variety. We just have to stay alert and ready. Yeah, it's frustrating sometimes in a game like this where is when you're trying to prepare, usually an offense has some bread and butter plays that you got to really drill in and you know exactly what you need to be concerned about. This is almost probably a good week of practice for the defense to just hammer the fundamentals. And especially without necessarily knowing for the offensive side of the ball, they don't know exactly what Vance Joseph is going to do to make up for the loss of Pat Surtain. And so the ability to get some kind of a run game going early on can make things a lot simpler for CJ Stroud. But this is where I'm hoping. I know we were looking at that Seattle game. It's like, all right, here you go. You got a good defensive line going against your offensive line. You got a good defense. It shows a lot of confusing looks. Let's see how it looks. Did not look good. This is 2 weeks later. You get another chance to hopefully have learned from those mistakes. And hopefully the next time I see you guys, we won't be plagued with these issues. I apologize for that. If I find out it's my fault, it's going to be rough on old Sethers internally for the next 2 hours.